back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the chunkiest books I have read this year. I have actually read a lot of big books this year, not just small books. I've actually read so far a total of 105 books, and 15 of them technically were big, but I'm going to talk about some of the biggest one I've read today. So I think I have like 6 or 7 books that I'm going to talk about. So let's get going. The first book I'm going to be talking about is Night Film by Marisha Pacel. This book is a whopping 600 pages, like 598, so pretty close. This book was a lot of fun. It is like a found footage documentary kind of spooky book. It's not like super spooky, but it does have very spooky moments. We follow this journalist who has had beef with the cult director Cordova, that his Cordova's daughter just died mysteriously. So our journalist, after 5 years of between the beef and now, is investigating this daughter's death. It's kind of like a revenge-esque investigation, but through this investigation, he finds out a whole lot of weird things about Cordova and Ashley Cordova, the daughter. And he has these 2 people helping him out. One was a coat taker at a hotel who took Ashley Cordova's coat, and the other was a former love interest that knew her from a camp a long time ago. So these 3 band of merry misfits investigate Ashley Cordova's mysterious death, and they uncover a lot about these cult films that Cordova films. So super good book. I really enjoyed all the multimedia in it. Let me see if I can find like a picture. Like it has like websites that they go to. It has like police reports. It has pictures. I mean, it's a really fun book, and it makes you feel like an investigator while reading this. So I was just about to start taking notes and everything. I really enjoyed it, and it doesn't feel super long, even though it is about 600 pages. It doesn't feel like that. Another big book that I read, which this one I did listen to, was Needful Things by Stephen King. This book is about a new shop that opens up in a small town, and this shop is called Needful Things, and it has things that people need. And kind of like Rumpelstiltskin, everything comes with a price. So they get these things for super cheap, but they have to go and play pranks on one another. And these pranks escalate, and the whole town turns against one another. Like you have the 2 churches in town battling one another. You have neighbor turning against neighbor, people beating each other to death, people buying guns and shooting each other. I mean, it's a very violent book. It has a slow start, but once you get into it, it gets very violent, and you don't know if anybody's actually going to make it and be safe, because they are so under the influence of the shopkeeper, Mr. Gaunt. And he is a crafty devil. Like, he is supposed to be representative of, like, I think the devil itself. So he is a crafty man. And yeah, it's a fun book, a little slow to begin with, but super fun once you get into it. So that is Needful Things. And this book is almost 700 pages, I think, so it's a pretty thick book. So yeah, I think it's like 690 pages, so it's thick. Another Stephen King book that I did read, which was end of last year, early into this year, but it was The Stand. This book's like 1,200 pages, so I think, yeah, 1,200. So this book's 1,200 pages, and I have the Barnes & Noble special edition just because I love it. It's like gorgeous, and it also has like illustrations in it as well, which I absolutely loved. Let me see if I can find one of them quick for you. Oop. Here we go. Found one. But yeah, every so often they have an illustration in there, which I thought was super cool. This book I read / listened to just because it's so long. I was starting to like lose interest, so I would switch to audiobook and read it in the car while I was driving to work, and that helped out a whole lot. The book itself is super good. Like the first 300 pages are just watching the infection spread, which is that, gosh, during COVID time, that gave me like super heebie-jeebies. I was like, am I starting to feel sick? Should I be in a room with anybody? And it was just freaking me out. Like, you just watched everybody. It starts with one man, and you just watch how it slowly escalates and how people travel. And gosh, it was just scary. Like, you wouldn't think a virus would be that scary, but it is, especially after COVID. But after the virus spreads and takes out anybody who's not really immune to it, then we see people rebuilding, and we see the battle of good versus evil in this book. So yeah, I mean, it was super good. I think I gave it like 4 or 5 stars. I can't remember. It's been a little while, but I really enjoyed it. I feel like we could have trimmed some parts here and there, because like once the cities are being rebuilt, you see your good city, and then you see the city with the evil devil man. And so yeah, I mean, I really enjoy this book. I feel like you would too. Just be prepared. It is a long read, so you might want to pause every now and then and switch out with another book. But I mean, I can see why this is one of King's like most renowned works, one of his most well-known works, just because it is a very, very in-depth, good book. So very chunky though, very chunky. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Another chunky book I read was Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. And this book is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It follows our main protagonist, Claire, and she was a nurse working in World War II. And after that's over, she and her husband decide to go on like a second honeymoon. And while they're there, she accidentally somehow falls through a magical portal rock, and she ends up in an old time 1743. So she's in 1945 and she ends up in 1743. And there she meets a very, very attractive Scotsman named Jamie. And the TV show actually follows the book pretty well from what I've seen. I've seen like the first 7 or 8 episodes, and it's pretty spot on. You see that Claire has a choice to make. She doesn't know if she can get back to the present day, and so she's thinking that she's going to be stuck in the past. So she has to decide, does she give up on ever finding her husband again, or does she just accept her feelings and fall in love with Jamie? Which Jamie is like a precious cinnamon roll, and I would die for him. I love Jamie, and he is just so beautiful and such a sweet man. So, but yeah, it's a beautiful romance story, and I really liked all like the historical fiction involved in it as well. It's like a fantasy historical fiction blended together with romance, obviously. But yeah, I mean, really good. I feel like it could have been a little bit shorter. It is, a little lengthy, but I mean, I obviously loved it. There was so much quote-worthy stuff and so many Jamie scenes that I had to highlight. So yeah, I did really enjoy this book. I haven't read any of the others in the series yet. I'm debating if I'm going to or not, just because I heard certain things happen. So I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below if you have read any of the other books and what's your opinion on them. Another chunky book I read was House of Sky and Breath. I actually read Crescent City this year as well, House of Earth and Blood. And yeah, I didn't like this one as much as I liked the first book. The first book really held my attention and I enjoyed it. I really liked the story of Bryce and how she was trying to figure out her best friend's death and processing all those stages of grief, and then finding Hunt and hating him at first but kind of falling in love with him. Like, I really liked that story. And then the whole scene with her little fairy friend and her cat and kicking the bad guy's butt, that first book was just great. And then this book was just kind of slow. It kind of dragged for me. I don't know, it was just lacking something for me, and I don't exactly know what it was. Like, I mean, we see Bryce and Hunt together, and that's what we all wanted from book 1, but I don't know, it was just, I needed something more and I didn't get it. It's hard to put my finger on. It was just slow. But I don't know if I'm going to pick up book 3, but the ending, it kind of makes you want to pick up book 3 just with it going to, well, I'm not going to spoil it. I almost did, but I'm not going to spoil it for all those who have not read it yet, because this book came out this year. You may have not read it. Anyway, let me know if you enjoyed this book as much as you enjoyed book 1. I just really liked book 1, and book 2 was debatable for me. I think I gave it like 3 stars just because I wanted more to happen, and even the action scenes were meh to me. So yeah, just let me know down in the comments what you thought of it. Yeah, this one's about 800 pages, so this is a very thick book. Another book I read earlier this year was The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. And I really love this book. It's a classic. It's a very, very long classic, but it was good. It was really good. It has like everything you could want in a book. It has adventure, romance, pirates, revenge. I mean, it was just a lot of fun. The story follows this man who is falsely imprisoned because some people decided to pull a prank on him, basically, and they got him arrested. And so he spends the next 40 years in jail. His father dies from grief. His soon-to-be wife unfortunately has to move on. I mean, yeah, but he finally escapes prison, and he seeks revenge on all the people who pulled that prank on him and got him wound up in jail. And so it's just this really good book. Like, I love the first part of it. The middle parts with all the revenge kind of did drag some, but I love the ending. I love how we got to see revenge and the price it pay, or the toll it takes on both the revengee and the revenger. So yeah, it was a really good book, and yeah, I highly recommend it. It is a classic that I would recommend. And I also learned that I guess this was originally written kind of like a serial. So like they would the author would publish you know, a chapter each week in a newspaper, and then the results is this book. So the book kept going and going because each week people wanted to know what happened next. So I thought that was really cool. And this one is, I almost forgot, it was almost 1,100 pages, this one was. So yeah, really good read. I've listened to it and read it also, just because with these big books, sometimes my attention wanes. I want to get to the next book sometimes, and I forget to keep with the same book. So I will switch to audio, that way I can listen to it in my car when I'm going places and just read it a little bit faster. The last chunky book I'm going to mention in this video is Tiger's Dream by Colleen Hawke. This is the final installment in the Tiger's Curse series book, and I really enjoyed it. It focuses on Kishan and his story. If you are familiar with the ending of the 4th book of the Tiger's series, Tiger's Destiny, this is going to be a spoiler, so if you plan to read the series and you haven't yet, to turn away now. But in the final book of in the 4th book of Tiger's Curse series, Kishan winds up giving up Kelsey and going back in time and staying in the past with Durga. And so this book follows their journey. We get to see all sorts of behind the scenes action from the first 4 books. We get to see how Kishan and Durga actually like implemented most of the things they had to do. They created everything. And we also get to see their own personal journeys as well. We get to go back in time and see what happened to Durga, and we get to see her saved. And yeah, but my only complaint with this book is the way it ended. Like, I could have ended it with them being happy. I didn't have to have it end on a sad note. I don't want to say everything, but yeah, it was really sad how it ended, and I just wanted a nice, tidy, happy ending. I didn't want to see all my favorite characters, you know, stuff happening to them. That broke my heart. So, depending on what you're looking for, you may just stick to the first 4 books, or you may even stop before the last like 2 chapters and then just call this a good book. But yeah, the last 2 chapters just broke me. I was about to start crying. Like, I just wanted it to end on a happily ever after. That's all I'm saying. So, and yeah, this one I think was 800 pages. Yeah, this book was 800 pages. So thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe if you want to. It means a lot to me. And let me know down in the comments below what other types of videos you would like to see. As always, love you guys.